Welcome to In the Kitchen, and today is episode 2. Now, last week we talked about the role of the kitchen. I gave you a look at myself and how my mother handled some of the things in the kitchen and some funny things as well as some more serious things. And if you haven't checked out episode 1, you will want to go back and to take a peek at that. But you don't have to do it right now. So I'm going to say to you, this is what we're going to be looking at. And this is so important that I even brought out the computer today, and so that I wouldn't forget anything as we're going through this subject. Now, first of all, this week we're going to look at a definition of the kitchen and what the role of the kitchen should be. And I say should, and that sounds so stiff. I don't want it to sound that way, but we do have a purpose. Everything has a purpose, even the kitchen. And so we're going to take a more in-depth look at that today. We're also going to look at our kitchen time. That time that we spend here in the kitchen. Now, are we making the most of it? And if not, you want to take a look at why, and the why nots, and what you can do little by little to improve how your kitchen time is more valuable. And it's almost, we have a job. Some of us have 3 jobs. We're wives, we're moms or dads, if it's a dad who's taking care of the kids and the family, because we do have some dads that are doing that, where they've switched out roles. And we are the mothers and grandmothers and aunts and the uncles and the cousins and the friends that sometime we're needed. So we're going to look at that. We're also going to take a look back. Now, for me, that look back goes back quite a while. For you, your back may not be quite as far back, but you do want to think about how things were back, say, when you were a child. And even in listening to your moms and grandmothers, what did they talk about? What did they do in the kitchen? If yours are like mine, there were conversations that some were very valuable. Some will probably stay with me the rest of my life. Some I have been able to pull information from. So we're going to look at those. Our kitchen life and how that kitchen life has influenced you today. So let's do that. Now, I hope that you will take a moment and in the comments just say, girl, I hear you. It is valuable and I'm working on it. Tell me where you're from. For those of you who are close, and I know I have some people who are just around the corner who follow, and let me know who's here. And so as you watch, just leave a message and say, hey, I'm over here and everything's okay, because for the past year, many of our friends and family we haven't seen. And not because we wanted it to be that way, but it is that way because of the virus. And let's just be real. We have to be real. And it has affected the gatherings that we normally have. So we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to talk about that over the next few weeks. Now, I'll tell you at the end, because we have something fun that's coming for next week. Now, let me do my usual introduction. I am Leona Dooley, and this is Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme. And you know what? I am so glad that you have taken the time to come to my house today. I am so glad that you are joining me in the Kitchen series, because we're going to have conversations and we're going to take a look at some of the things that sometimes we talk about and some things we haven't talked about and haven't thought about. Not because we don't want to, but because our days are so full, and they're even more full now than they were because everybody's at home. So we're going to talk about some of those conversations, and I'm glad and I'm happy that you have taken a moment to be with me here in the kitchen. So I hope that you'll go right over there to that coffee bar, get you a cup of coffee, join me, let's sit down, whether it's coffee, tea, or milk. Sit down, no matter your age, gender, sit down. We need a conversation. This is home. This is family. Everyone who walks through that door eventually becomes family, because that's what we're going to make it. Now, we here at Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme, we are a family. And you know what? We love to cook. We love to chit chat. We love to decorate. And oh, honey, the list goes on. So let's do all of that right here in the kitchen. Now, the kitchen is, if you remember, it's the hub. It's the heart of your home. So you want to make that time in the kitchen very valuable. And before I forget, and before we get into this conversation, if you are not an official family of the member, go right now to that little red button and hit subscribe. And if you will, tap the little bell icon, because when you do that, you'll know every time we upload. So just in case you forget, it will notify you and say, ding, ding, I am uploading and we have new material. So you want to do that. Also, if you have friends and other family members who you think might enjoy it, share this video with them so that they will have an opportunity to join in on the conversation. Now, keep this in mind, that your kitchen should be the place where everybody wants to be. Now let's talk about defining the role of the kitchen. And I have notes, so I hope you will excuse the fact that I'm looking down at my paper, because I did want to make sure that I covered all of the things that I found important. So I went to, when you're talking about a definition or defining a role, you need to know what it is and what everybody thinks it is. So I went to Dr. Webster, and Webster defines the kitchen as a room or an area that's been equipped for preparing and cooking food. Now, I think all of us can agree with that. I also went, for those of us who are computer geeks, I went to Wikipedia. And Wikipedia gives us a little more thorough definition. It says that the kitchen is a room or part of a room that's used for cooking and for food preparation in a dwelling. And of course, our dwelling is our home. It talks about the fact, it goes into all the things that you would find normally in a kitchen. And it says that typically it's equipped with a stove, a sink, with hot and cold running water, a refrigerator. It has work surfaces, kitchen cabinets, and it's kind of arranged in a particular design. Now, for those of you who have lived in various places, you know that all kitchens are not all the same. We've had galley kitchens, we have apartment kitchens, we have homes that have small kitchens, and then you have homes that have larger kitchens. And some of those kitchens we've designed along the way. Now, many households have microwave ovens, but they don't necessarily come with microwaves. So that may have to be something you would add along the way. Dishwashers and other electrical appliances are those perks that we have as our kitchens evolve. because I can say my first kitchen didn't have all of this. It had a refrigerator, it had a sink and a stove, and that was it. The end. And the only counter space that I had was that little surface area around the sink, because we lived in a house that was close to 100 years old, and the kitchen just wasn't very big. And so we're going to talk about the past and how it can influence your presence as we get into today. Now, this is the part I liked, that the main function of a kitchen is to store and prepare and cook food. The room or the area, the kitchen, may also be used for dining, entertaining, and even laundry. Now, that kind of stopped me. Dining, entertaining, and laundry. Each of those areas are, to us, major areas. And as time has gone by, and depending upon your age, you may find that some of these parts may not be a part of your present kitchen. And so let's kind of delve into that and take a look at that. Now, the role of a kitchen. The kitchen is a place where we are cooking, preparing, serving food. And that is just, if we just get very basic, yes, that's the purpose of the kitchen. That's right. Everything has a purpose. And as we talk about the kitchen has evolved over time. And it wasn't about the size of the kitchen. It was about the person in the kitchen, whether it was the mom or the dad, because there are dads that run that kitchen better than any woman. And I know of a couple who, when they get in that kitchen, there's some serious stuff going on in the kitchen. And so dads have had to adjust roles. Moms have had to adjust roles because the world around us changed. And so if we look at today's world, a very large portion of our population of people are working, whether they're working during the day, the evening, or overnight, it doesn't matter, but they're working. And for those who are not necessarily leaving the home, they're still working, whether it's a stay-at-home dad or whether it's a stay-at-home mom. And if you're the stay-at-home mom, my hat off to you, because that is a job, keeping everybody together. And that's probably a harder job than for those of us who went to work every day. I had a career. I spent almost 36 years teaching. So I had almost 150 students a day. And needless to say, when I walked through that door, the last thing I wanted to look at was another child. But you know what? I was able to take off my school self to a point, even though I drug in every evening a bag full of papers to check, because that's what teachers do. There are things to do, projects to check, homework to check, daily work to check, records to keep, and it just goes on. Some people have the I won't say luxury, but they have the advantage of being able to pretty much leave their job at work. And that means that they don't really have to bring papers and book work and those kind of things home. So really, when they do leave the job, now that's not saying that they have to spend extra hours at work to avoid that. But when they are able to come home, they're able to be more in the present of what's going on around the house. And either way it is, they're exhausted. So let's look at our family. Now I'm going to start, and I'm using myself as an example purposely. Typically when I came home, I was one of the moms that got home early from work, because school for us was out between, kids got out at 2:10, and typically teachers got to leave by 2:30. So you figure, and I'm only 5 minutes from home. So I'll say 2:30-ish. I was able to be home between 2:30 and 3. And most of the moms that worked didn't get home until 4:30, 5 o'clock, some even to 6. And so their children, especially middle school, because that's the age I dealt with, the middle schoolers needed a little monitoring. Now, some of them were brave enough that moms had a strict enough schedule that, you know, like my kids knew. They knew what to do when they walked in the door. If they didn't remember, I usually wrote it down. And I need so-and-so to do this, 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 and this. I need such and such to do this, 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 and this, so that when I came through the door, they didn't have to cook. They didn't have to do any of that. But they knew no one could come in the house until I walked in that door. Now, the funny part is that once I got in the door, their buddies were on the phone and they were ready to come. And this became, I'll call it the way station, or a better word, the Kool-Aid house. And that was because I was home. Now, I was fortunate on those days when I needed to stay late that I had 2 homes in our section that were where we had stay-at-home moms. And those stay-at-home moms were very open, and if needed, I knew I could send so-and-so over and they could stay a few minutes until I could get home. And that worked. Now, dinner. Dinner was always the major subject. What are we going to have for dinner? And you know, as a newbie, as a new wife, of beginning the family, beginning the circle, we have to look at that as being another category of job, because that's major. I think every, and I'm going to say woman in this case, every mother struggles at the beginning with trying to find the footing of being able to come in and put food on the table every night, and trying to find something that everyone likes. Now, I had hoped my daughter was going to be here, because this became, the kitchen became our conversation place. There was homework to attend to. I had my work to attend to, because I usually had a stack of papers somewhere. And I was trying to get the dinner ready so that when the big guy came through the door from work, and he didn't get home until 5:30. So they gave me a little bit of time. So I needed to do the laundry. I needed to make sure the kitchen was in order. I needed to make sure the kids were ready, that they had clothes and all that kind of stuff ready to go. And it just compiles tons and tons of stuff. So it took a while before I could stop, breathe, and figure out a schedule that worked for me. Now, guys, let me give you this suggestion. Keep your ears open. And don't think that the conversations around aren't conversations you may need to hear. I worked with 2 ladies who had run their household at the time that I first got married. They had run their households. One had run her household for 50 years. She had 7 children. And in her case, she was a stay-at-home mom. But they had a successful marriage and was still going. And so she was so good, because when things got really crazy, when she would see me, she could tell if I was over the top, you know, trying to get everything just right, because I'm kind of a type A. I want it just right. And I wanted it perfect. She was the one who said to me, stop. It's never going to be perfect. You are surviving each day. And your kids are going to be fine. They need you. Keep that in mind. They need you. They need your voice. They need for you to listen. And sometimes they just need a hug. Now, that was the best advice. I didn't think so at that moment. I thought, what? What are you thinking of? What are you talking about? And she said, and honey, all those little bodies that are coming into your house, because I was telling her how, it ended up that I had not only mine, but I'd end up with other people's children because they knew I was at home. And they would come to visit and to play. And she said, God's sending them to your house for a reason. Make the most of it. I picked up some chicken from my favorite establishment, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to use this electric skillet, and we're going to throw together a quick vegetable. And so we're starting with our electric skillet. We're turning it on. We've got some of those frozen onions that we put together earlier, and we are going to just look at how much we need, how many people we have. You can see I'm spreading those onions around the skillet. I'm going to let them get happy by turning the heat up just a little bit because I want that butter to melt. And then we're going to start to move things around. Now I'm throwing in a half teaspoon of pepper and about a half teaspoon of salt. That should be just enough seasoning, because by the time I get all of the fresh vegetables in, these onions are going to soak up those flavors. But you know what? I throw a little garlic in there. It's going to be just perfect. We need about a pinch of pepperoncino as well to give it a little lift. Let's add in some of those herbs of Provence. And I'm doing all of this early. I'm not waiting until everything's in the skillet because I want all of the liquids down in the bottom of that skillet to be seasoned. So when I put those vegetables in, everything is going to be delicious. So that's what I'm doing. I've got the heat of the skillet. I keep turning it up just a little more, and especially now because I want that corn to simmer and to cook. So I'm just flipping and flopping the corn around so that all the sides of the corn will have a touch of butter. I may have to add just a tiny bit of olive oil in, or some canola oil, whatever kind of oil you have. And in this case, I really decided just add a tiny bit of water. And that did it, because I need to add a little steam to this as well. I took some trimmed green beans that you can find in the store. So easy. So it's so easy for our young people to cook lots of things, because they can go in the fresh produce section and pick up freshly prepared vegetables that all they have to do is bring them home and put them into the skillet. So I took some little cherry tomatoes, cut them in half, and I'm throwing those in the skillet. And I want you to see the color. When you're preparing your vegetables, you always want to think about color. What does it look like? And so I love when my pan and my skillet shows the colors and that they're beautiful. So it was like the little bell went off, and it's like, wow, that's a serious conversation. So think about that. They wanted to be here. There was something here that they liked besides the kids. And if my kids were to jump in, they would tell you most of the time they came not to visit with them. They wanted to visit with me. And they would come in, we would talk, we would laugh, we would play. We'd play, I'd have a game of cards or whatever it was going at the kitchen table. and I'd run over when it wasn't my turn and work on whatever it was I was doing for dinner, then hop back over and play with the crew a little while, and then go back and forth. And now I so miss that. It was fun. And you know what? I still have contact with those children. They're adults. They've got their own babies and wives and families and jobs and careers, and they've done it all. I've been at many of their weddings and been a part of what's gone on. And that's valuable time. And I have to say that I think now, as I look back on it, that's God's way of being able to say, see, your time in the kitchen was valuable. So my advice to you is to don't sweat the small stuff. The floor may not be perfectly swept, but if there's someone who needs that hug, needs that conversation, hand them the broom and giggle with them while they're doing whatever it is and you're working on whatever you need to do. Hey, they'll help. And it's just a matter of asking. Everybody gets a broom, everybody gets a dustpan, everybody gets a dust rag, and we start wiping and washing and whatever it is, because they become a part of the family. Now, kitchen time, kitchen time, kitchen time. That's our kitchen time. Developing our family. Now, as we look back at the past, what was your past like? What did you see your mom doing here in the kitchen? Now, think back to your kitchen. Close your eyes so you can see when you were young, very young, see your mom, your dad, whomever was in that kitchen. Look at your brothers or sisters if you have them. In my case, I didn't have them. I'm an only. But kitchen time, what were we doing? What was our past kitchen like? And then open your eyes. Was it noisy? Were there people coming in and out all the time? And if you have such variations in ages, you got people who are involved in sports, you've got people who are somewhere reading, you've got people who are hovered and coloring, you've got people who are writing stories, you've got people who are chit-chatting the whole time and telling about their day. I loved hearing about the day. And that was the fun part, getting to hear the stories. And those stories are valuable. And it's valuable listening when all the kids are here in your kitchen, your ear, you're listening to the conversation. And sometimes they'll ask you questions. Well, Miss Dooley, what do you think about so-and-so? Did you do so-and-so and so-and-so? And that gives you your opportunity to share. Now, sometimes things were crazy. And it would just be absolutely off the chart. We would get to laughing so bad that when my husband would come through the door, it was like he would stop in the door. He'd see all these kids in the kitchen. It was like, oh, I think I need to turn around and go back out. And he would go straight upstairs, and I would say, are you hiding? And he would say, yeah, I just need a quiet moment. I said, well, I didn't get one. I didn't get a quiet moment, because as soon as I walked in that door, I was on target. I was on to do the things that needed to be done here. I had moved to my other job. I guarantee when you smell these vegetables in the kitchen, you will not want to leave. Now, how are you working your combinations? Was your mom one who hovered? Did she check every page, every letter, read it over with you? Did she do that? Or did you have an older brother or sister who would sit down with you and kind of go over homework when you were young? Did she, was the kitchen perfect? I do know some moms who, when you walked into their kitchen, you almost didn't want to sit down because it was so clean. Everything was perfect. And it's like, wow. And in those cases, most of them, now that I look back on them, those were stay-at-home moms. They had had a chance to do those kinds of things. Now, we must develop our own schedules, what it's going to look like. You have to decide what's important because you have a lot to juggle. You know, I had invited my daughter to come in and to kind of share with the group. And I'm hoping that I can eventually get her to that point where she would just sit down and talk, because I already know she's probably going to tell some stories that you're going to go, no, she didn't. Well, yes, I did. If she tells it, you know I did it. And so, but I do want to be able to do that and to give her that moment. And, but she was saying, she said, Mom, you know, I'm at that stage of life where I'm juggling. She's juggling a serious career. She's juggling keeping her husband going. And especially now, everybody's at home underfoot. She's trying to keep the kids on track. She's trying to make sure that they have activities and things that they can do so that their mental and physical beings are well, and trying to keep herself well. And moms, dads, that's important. If you aren't well, the family's not going to be well. And in the words of, I don't know who came up with this saying, that if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. And that's true. When you've had a tough day and your head is hung, everybody knows. And if you just get quiet, you will see that they will get up and they will pick up and they will help, because they know that that's not your usual state. So, take care of yourself, take your vitamins, get your schedule. If you have to write it down, write it down. Write down the things you know you absolutely have to do, because you're juggling. We're all juggling. I'm retired now, so what I do may look smoother to you, may look more perfect to you, but nothing's perfect. All of us every day are juggling, because that's just the way of the world. Juggling. We're juggling careers, family, friends. So we're going to help each other. We're going to have kind things to say to each other, because everyone needs a kind word every day. Your partners need you. And when the big guy comes into the kitchen, sometimes I've got grease, I've got cleaner, I've got bleach, whatever it is, all over me. And I just reach up and give him a big hug and a kiss. And he's going, well, what did I do? He didn't do anything. It's just because. Stop and take that moment. And even do that with your kids. If nothing else, put your hand on them, on their little heads, or their big heads, the case may be, and just linger for a moment. That physical touch means so much. Give them a minute. Give them a minute. Give them that hug. Give them that kiss. Give them your time. And they in turn will give it back to you. Right here in your kitchen. Make this the place, the happy place. Make it the place that everybody wants to be. Because in your kitchen, you're making memories. You're building community. Because when your kids leave and they go to college and they go to set up a life for themselves, they need a past to build on. They need memories to build on. Make it the best that you can. I know we've gotten heavy this week, and you know, we're going to play around. We're going to do a little cooking, and you know, I love to cook, and I love for you to be right here. You're not going to leave my kitchen without having a meal. So get ready, get ready, get ready, because we're going to sit down to dinner. You have certainly enjoyed today. And in the midst, I broke our heavy conversation into segments for today's In the Kitchen, because some of those topics were emotional. I mean, I can feel myself choking up just a little bit. That's how emotional it was. And especially going back and taking a look, because at this point in time, I know what it is to raise that family. Done it. I know what it is to juggle the career, the kids, the husband, and the friends. I know what that's all about. And I know that that is not an easy thing to do. And it causes sometimes great anxiety. But you know what, guys? Take a breath. Enjoy the moment. Because the time will come when you will miss those moments. And I know right now you're thinking, will that ever come? Yes, it will come. And you'll look back on it and like right now I'm enjoying the moment. But you know, when my kids went off to school with each one of them, I was a basket case. Cried all the way to college to take them and cried all the way back home. I already knew how much I was going to miss having them in the kitchen. Their friends, the conversation, all the noise. Now, next week, we've got great plans. And you know, we're getting so close to Mother's Day. And that is a fun time. It's a time to reminisce. It's a time to look forward. And most of all, look forward. Because your moms wanted the best for you. And for those of you who are fortunate enough to have your moms with you all the time, God bless you. Take care of your mom. She's valuable to you. And even for those of us like me whose mom has gone on to the better place, I miss her. But I know she's here. So we're going to have a Mother's Day segment. And also around Mother's Day, we have college students who are graduating. And we've got high schoolers who are graduating. And they are making life choices. Honey, gather them in your kitchen and let them sit here and just soak it up. Just let them soak it up, what you're doing. It's not about saying, you know, now when you have your kitchen, make sure that you use a so-and-so. It's not about that. You want them in your atmosphere and let them soak up the memories. thank you for coming to the kitchen today. I hope the meal was delicious. We enjoyed sitting down together. We enjoyed spending a day together. And I'm looking forward already to your being right here in my special place, the kitchen, next week, Saturday at 10 a.m. I'll see you then.